Hello students. So today we'll do the chapter Adaptation in Plants part 2. We'll continue with the chapter. In the last video I have described you about terrestrial plants. Okay, the plants growing on land. There are 5 types of landforms we have discussed and the plants growing on that we have discussed. So here are some pictures I am just showing you so that you can recap your knowledge. Yes, the first picture is of fir tree which grows on mountain. Okay, thin needle-like leaves are there. Okay, tall and straight and conical shape. All right, you can make it out. The trees on mountains look somewhat like this. All right. Yes. Now here, second is the picture of this. This is a picture of oak tree. Okay, which grows on plains. So these trees have a lot of branches, broad leaves. All right. Now next is cactus. This is a picture of cactus, the plant growing in desert area, which needs less water and they can survive in dry climate also. These plants are also called xerophytes. Their leaves are reduced to spines here. You can see the spines on the stems, and stems carry out photosynthesis. Okay, and the roots are spread over large area to absorb as much water as they can. Okay, then we have studied about marshy areas, and in that trees growing are mangrove. Okay, there the trees have breathing roots. You can see the breathing roots here in this picture. Breathing roots are there which comes above the soil, all right, to capture oxygen, to carry out their processes of uplifting the minerals and water from the soil, because the soil is logged with water. Soil contains a lot of water, that's why they are not able to take oxygen from there. So they grow above the soil to capture oxygen. All right students, then we have studied about plants growing in coastal areas. Okay, you can see the slender stem of the trees here, and the leaves you see especially here, these are leaflets, means small leaf-like structures combined together to form these compound leaf, which are called leaflets. All right students, so these are the types of plants which grow in the coastal areas, and they are adapted to face all the fast blowing wind. All right, the salty water and the sandy soil, they are adapted to this. So today we'll study about aquatic plants. Aquatic plants are the plants which grow in water. I will just underline it for you, which grow in water. These plants are called aquatic plants. Now aquatic plants are of 4 types: floating, fixed, underwater and emergent plants. All right, and the word aquatic means, aqua means water, that's why the name is given. Aquatic plants means something growing in water. Now here, first is floating plants. Some main points about floating plants. Here the example is given here, duckweed, and some more examples are there. Water hyacinth also is there. Okay, and here special features of this, how they are adapted to live in water. They have thick, light and spongy stem. The stem is spongy, that is filled with water. Okay, filled with air, so that these plants can float on water. All right, so very important feature here. Then floating plants do not have fixed roots. Their roots are floating in water. Their roots hang loosely in water. Okay, and they absorb water and minerals from water only. Now the stomata of these plants are on the upper surface. Usually the stomata is under the leaf, and leaf are there, and under the leaves the stomata is there, and here the stomata is on the leaf surface. Right students, so here these are the features of this floating plants. Now fixed plants are the plants which have their roots fixed to the bottom of the pond bed is there. Okay, soil bed is there. Below the water there is soil bed, on that the roots are fixed. All right, that's why the name given, fixed plants. Now these plants have long, thin, flexible and hollow stems. Okay, very light moving stems and very thin, so that when the water flows, no, so they are able to adjust with that flowing water and they do not break by the force of water. All right, students, and they have flat broad leaves also. You can see here, this is the example, water lily is the example of fixed plant here, and you can see the leaf here, flat and broad leaves are there, and the leaves have waxy coating. Okay, there is a layer of some silky smooth coating, waxy coating. This prevents them from rotting, because any leaf kept in water may rot. Okay, may get rotten, but these leaves are not getting rotten. Why? Because they have waxy coating on them. The stomata are found on the upper surface, just like the floating plants. The stomata is on the upper surface for absorbing, you know, the role of stomata for absorbing and releasing gases. All right, okay, their roots absorb nutrients from the soil at the bottom of the pond. All right, so these are the features of fixed plant and floating plants. Examples: water lily and lotus. Also one more is given here in your reader. All right, students, now here I have put a page for you, just to I'm making a diagram to make it clear the concept here. Right, students, so here I'm making one box and here two boxes. Just a comparative study I'm giving you of this floating and fixed. For example, this is water. This is the soil bed. Here also water, and this is the soil bed. Then floating plants are what? Like duckweed and all. They have spongy leaves, and here the stems are spongy, so that they're able to float on water, and their roots are hanging loose in the water like this. All right, their roots are hanging loose in the water like this. These are floating plants. And now fixed plants, what is the difference between them? Fixed plants like lotus, when we are talking about lotus, then here, so they have broad leaves, as you know, and their stems are very hollow, and they are fixed at the bottom of the seabed. So got the difference between the two, floating and the fixed plants. All right, so these are the, and their stomata is on the upper surface of the leaf. Okay, and about all these nutrients, floating plants absorbs nutrient from water, and here these fixed plants absorb nutrient from the soil here. All right, okay, now moving on to the next page here. Yes, underwater plants. Now underwater plants are the plants that grow under the water. All right, students, that grow under the water. These plants also have certain features which help them to adapt or to live in this environment. Example, first we'll look at the example: tape grass, pondweed, Vallisneria, hydrilla. One example is given in your reader here, hydrilla. You can look at the plant, how it appears. That is under the water, means they are on the bed, soil bed here, and the water is over them. They are under the water, they are not visible on the top. All right, so they have thin narrow leaves and flexible stem. Again, they have flexible stem so that they can adjust to the flow of water. Okay, and leaves are very thin and narrow. They have no stomata. They absorb the gases from their surface. The plant body, from its surface only they absorb gases. All right, not from the stomata, because they don't have stomata. They don't bear flowers. They don't have flowers. Okay, these are non-flowering plants, and their roots absorb nutrients from the soil. All right, so these are the features. They are underwater plants, attached to the soil. You can see, okay, the roots are absorb nutrients from the soil. They are under the water, no stomata, no flowers. They absorb gases from the body surface. All right, leaves are small and thin, narrow. Okay, and stems are flexible. Now the fourth one is emergent plants. First, and examples are bulrush and cattle, and one more is there, arrowhead. Bulrush, the example is given in front, and these two also, cattle and arrowhead, also looks like this bulrush only. Okay, the emergent plant, what is the main point about them? that their roots are fixed in the waterbed. Yes, their roots are fixed. Like for example, if I'll extend this diagram here, this is the soil bed here. So their roots are fixed in the soil bed. Okay, their roots are fixed in the soil bed. But their leaves and stems extend above the water surface. As you can see, this leaves and stem extend above the water surface. All right, students, I'll just draw it a little for you here. Yeah, in the emergent plants, what happens is, students, here they are fixed to the water bed. Yes, they have roots fixed to the water bed, and they grow here like this. But this is the level of water, so their stems and leaves emerge out of the water. Their stems and leaves emerge out of the water also. So this is the main feature of this emergent plants. All right, students. Okay, so let's move on to the next. That is some special plants we'll talk about. Three we are discussing in this chapter: non-green plants, parasitic plants, and in the next page we'll study insectivores. So what are non-green plants? As the name says, these are non-green. That means they do not contain chlorophyll, which is giving green color to the leaves. All right, students, so these plants are also called saprophytic plants. Okay, examples of these are Indian pipe and coral root. One example is given here. Now, how they are non-green plants, so how do they get their food? So they absorb food from the dead plants and animals, because they don't have chlorophyll. They will not be able to make food. Then they will get food from somewhere, no? So they'll absorb the food from dead plants and animals. So these are non-green plants, also called saprophytic plants, which absorb food from dead plants and animals. Next special type of plants are parasitic plants. Now parasitic plants, as the name indicates, they are parasites, means which feeds on other plants, which depends on other plants for their food, but not the dead ones. For the living plants, they absorb their nutrition and are harmful for the other plants. That's why they are called parasitic plants. They cannot make their own food, right? So they obtain nutrition from other plants, and in obtaining nutrition from other plants, they often cause harm to the plants on which they grow and feed. That is very bad character about these parasitic plants, bad feature about this. Okay, because they obtain the nutrition from other plants, but they harm them also. So the examples are given here: dodder, mistletoe. Okay, these are parasitic plants, mistletoe and all. Okay, students, let's get back to the new page here. Now here, these are the insectivorous plants. Now what is special about them? Insectivorous plants, as the name indicates, insectivorous means one who eats insect. Vorous means eater, and insect means one who eats insects. So insectivorous plants eat insects. Now how? They don't have teeth like us to eat insects. Their leaves are modified. These plants have such leaves which are very specially made so as to trap the insects. Okay, all right. By trapping the insect, here for example, take this example of Venus flytrap, sundew, picture plant. All these are the insectivorous plants. Take this Venus flytrap. They have lobes. Okay, they have lobes, two lobes with hair like spikes. You can see the spikes here, the spikes growing on the lobe here. Okay, they have hair like projections on the two lobes of their leaves. Leaves are in the form of two lobes here. Okay, and their hair like projection is also there. As soon as any insect come and sit here, no, they snap shut, they close. These two lobes come together and close each other tightly, so and suffocate these insects coming inside. And that's how they kill these insects. And they how they absorb nutrition? They absorb nutrition from their body. All the protein, all the nutrition from the body, they absorb in the leaf, and in this way they are able to carry out their daily processes. Okay, by eating insects. And how the insects are attracted towards them? Because they are very colorful plants, pleasant smelling, and they have large quantity of nectar. You know what is a nectar? Nectar is sugary liquid. Okay, that is a sugary liquid in such plants, which insects do attract to them and come there to feed on them. Okay, nectar, sweet sugary liquid. which a plant has in flowers and in flowers, okay, that nectar is present. So this is all about the chapter. I hope you have understood the chapter. Okay, there are some exercises also given at the back. You can just go through it by all this explanation. I hope you will be able to do all these exercises, all the answers I have given here. Go through all the answers and learn them, and the diagrams also make it very clearly. This is the diagram of Vallisneria, underwater plant, okay, growing underwater. All right, and this is for insectivorous plant. All right, so I hope it's very much clear to you. Okay, thank you.